It's your girl Shells.
And it's your girl Miss Ash.
And it's Alicia.
And welcome back to another episode of Mama Drama Podcast, guys. If you are not subscribed, let me look at every single camera. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you do not miss a video. Make sure you are following us on socials, and let's just get into it. Leash, run it up.
All right, guys. So I hit up Shells a couple of weeks ago and it's like I had an epiphany. Because I've been having this conversation with males in my life, actually. So I felt like it was quite important that we had this conversation about what we speak to our girls about. Yeah, our daughters. We don't have any daughters between us, but our young ladies that are growing up and becoming adults and making choices about their sexuality and sex specifically. So I felt we needed to kind of have this conversation because I think it's something that's quite missed. I think that people find it quite awkward to talk to girls about sex in general. We're not going to talk about anything work related, but something did come up in regards to this about just the fact that it's quite difficult for people to talk to girls about this. We're very open and fluid to talk to boys about sex, and I think it's because they communicate that type of talk from a young age about sex, and it's quite a free kind of conversation to have. Whereas when it's girls, it's totally different. And I was reflecting and saying to Shells, I never had this conversation with my mum, and then we kind of went back and forth with each other, and I said, cool, let's talk about it on the podcast, because I think it's a good conversation because people actually don't talk about it. So let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things
and the bad things.
baby.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. And that came out when I was in primary school. And I was dancing, and I actually remember dancing in a playground
To that song.
and doing the dance moves as well, innit?
Yeah.
Because the dance move was sex.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
You just copying.
I was copying.
You big copycat.
So I'm going to start off. I have a boy child, as everyone knows. He's almost going to be an adult. I've spoken to my son about sex very freely, openly, talking about condoms, STDs, about who he should choose when who he should be choosing when he's having sex with, what it kind of means to a girl from our perspective, respecting that girl, how is respect shown. If I had a daughter, well, I do have one, and she grows up, it's going to be a whole different ballgame.
Why?
Because of my experiences of me not even having that conversation in the first place. And I think I'm equipped now, and I think I'm quite confident that I can do it. But I think it's almost quite daunting to think that I have to do that anyway in the first instance. But I do think that it should be delivered almost in the same way, like it's a conversation, it's casual, and to be able to have that type of relationship where you would naturally find it. And I think a lot of mums and dads find it easy to do with boys to do with my daughter. And I will go on further as into why that's important and what that means when we're adults and stuff. But I just think that initial part of having a conversation with my daughter when she comes of age, I don't even know when that age is, because sex education, people are taking out their kids so they can't see sex education. They do it in year 6, don't they? And they start
they've changed it now to like year 5.
Year 5, yeah.
Is it year 5?
Yeah.
I think some schools, they think they're a bit different in different places, but I do know in year 6.
I think national is like year 5 now. They've changed it.
Yeah, so like, guys, how do you feel about that? If you had a daughter or a son, how do you feel about even that part, just them learning about sex education? Are you happy with a stranger teaching your child that? Not stranger, but I know it's a teacher, but it's a stranger. Or do you think it should come from you?
I think everything should come from us. Like, I think in your home, your house is where that's your stomping ground. Your house and your home is where you learn things from first. You learn how to clean yourself. You learn how to eat food. You learn how to dress yourself. It all comes from your parent. I haven't got an issue with schools teaching children about sex education. The reason why I don't have an issue with that is because it is innate to human beings. We know how to have sex. That is just something that we know how to do because that's what we have been built to do.
Mm-hmm.
So by having these conversations in the school, we are preparing those children for things and circumstances that could happen. Now, what I don't necessarily agree with is if a parent doesn't consent or doesn't agree with that being taught in the curriculum, whether that child is still taught or whether it's pushed or it's used against the parent. That's what I don't agree with. If a parent doesn't feel that it's age appropriate for their child or their year 5 child to know about certain things like a vagina and a penis, then the school needs to obviously use their authority to consider whether it's needed or not. Personally, you guys already know my son knows what a vagina is and my son knows what a penis is. I don't call it a willy. I don't make up names. I give it what it's called.
Here she goes again, uses aggressive words.
It's not aggressive. And why are we saying it's aggressive? Because that's what it is.
I agree.
We say
vagina,
it's a
just,
vagina.
You know, I've always said this, said it.
You've always said it.
This,
why am I disguising it? We've spoken about generational trauma. We've spoken about people doing things and whatever. People use familiar terms and they simplify things to make it sound all cutesy, and then the child doesn't know, and an innocent child gets messed into stuff that they shouldn't even thingy because they didn't know. That's my penis, not my little Willy or my little this or my little Johnny or whatever it might be. Do you get what I mean? So I just think, and that's just my opinion, and I'm going to stand by it. I think children should be taught in primary school about these things because you find out there's so many things, and I don't want to make this work related, I really don't, but there are so many children who like just do things out of general curiosity when they're at that age of, oh my gosh, what is that? Like, oh, she's got something different to me and I've got something different to her, and that's a natural thing, and I think that children need to know. So I haven't got an issue with that. I don't.
I think naturally, just to add on to that, I believe the natural age for that exploration and questioning, and even to touch other people's. I've had this training, yeah. When I mean other people's, I mean of their own pairs and stuff, or to see it. I think it's of the age of 9. It's not classed as like sexual abuse or harm. It's because they're of that age where they're exploring sexuality a little bit as well. I think people don't really understand that, but they are exploring sexuality. So when I say that, I mean a boy liking a girl, for example, or a girl liking a boy,
or a boy liking a boy,
or a girl liking a girl, yeah. And when they're doing that, that's a stage. That's a stage and a time and a point up until the age of 12. I think we're exploring and not understanding those boundaries properly, but it's all formed under that bracket. So then it would mean that they're then shooting out for sexual education at the right age, because that's around the age, isn't it? 9 years old and stuff. Yeah. So
it's happening. Like, I don't think education just plucks up these things out of nowhere. Like, it's guided by something, and they always look at the growth and development of a child. What is that child learning at that particular time? What are they displaying in their behaviors? And is it something that fits across the board? Obviously, not one size fits all. You've got children who've got additional needs. You've got children who may appear to be a bit older than they are, or not even in appearance wise, they are just a little bit more mature, and that might be because they've got older siblings or their parents speak to them like adults and not children. There's various things, but we're looking at like the streamline and the basic things. Like, most children are doing those things. I remember when I was in year 5, year 4, I was running around saying I had a boyfriend in primary school. What do I know about boyfriend? Why am I playing kiss chase? These are games.
Yeah, these are normal stuff.
These are normal things that we do, and we're lip sync and we're doing whatever, and you'll look at your face. But this is what was happening in our school playground, and it was literally, we were bickering each other about girlfriends and boyfriends, and this one likes
that's my boyfriend, yeah.
And that's my boyfriend. But what do I know about boyfriend? What do you know about girlfriend? We didn't know nada, nothing about nothing. But we was literally just having these conversations, and it would come up. Then year 6, you start getting a bit more body conscious. Like, then you go into secondary school, and then everything all shifts for you. Massively. I can remember secondary school. Like, I went to a girls' school. Girls' schools, yeah, we're talking for females and girls, whatever. Girls' schools are ruthless. If you can avoid sending your daughter to a girls' school, do it. Yeah,
that your advice.
That is my advice to parents. Why? Girls' schools are ruthless. Yeah, you think what you're doing by sending your female child to a all-female or the same-sex educational school is to not make her think about boys and to keep her on track, and so she doesn't get disturbed. Huh? Every single girl in that school was talking about man, still linking man, fighting about man, arranging fights in fields to beef about man. Everything that the girls were doing in that school revolved around men, and there weren't even men in the school apart from the male teachers, right? So in my opinion, and it's just an even more bitchier environment. Like, everyone's hormones are raging, and people are literally beefing for the sake of, I don't like you. That it was madness. It was actual madness. So if you could avoid it, I don't think it's beneficial in any way. I think we always have the separate, you can correct me if I'm wrong, yeah? but separate same-sex schools, the stats, I think they do a bit better than when they're co-educational. Is that correct? Yeah. So the stats are there. Like I can understand why a parent would say, okay, I'm going to send you to a same-sex school because the stats are better. But in essence,
it's a bit backwards, isn't it?
It is
because
a bit
you
backwards.
just mix them. In primary school, that is,
Yeah.
because you don't get same-sex primary schools.
No, you don't.
And then you only mix them, you only separate them at secondary
But
school.
that's because of the all hormone
I know,
stuff, because they're still raging.
I know, but they've already been introduced,
just,
didn't it?
There we go. So I get the whole concept of, okay, cool, we want you to focus on your studies, but actually, I can tell you, hand on heart, none of us were focusing on our studies until it was time to focus on our studies, and that was like year 10, 11. Before then, everyone was feeling for man, everyone was trying to link man, everyone was chilling at the bus stop waiting for man, everyone was dilly-dallying in flipping Dalston, trying to link man, trying to see who's going to get moved to. No, even the Neeks were part of that,
Did the boys' school come to your school?
Absolutely. Boys' schools will come after the school. Mixed schools will come after the school. The olders will come to the school because they knew it was a girls' school and they're going to get gal. That was just as long and short of it. So it's just, I just think, I think that we need to, parents need to think about that. I think for girls, a lot of things happen when you're in secondary school.
Yeah.
And that's where like the whole, I don't know if we want to talk about our secondary school experiences with like...
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's chop it up. Aisha, what was the secondary school like for you? What was it like?
I did my exams. I attended classes.
Was you a good student? No.
You know what?
You was?
I went to a mixed school. Secondary school, I weren't cute. So, I weren't cute.
No, but no one was really cute though.
No, some people were cute. I weren't cute. I weren't cute.
You were cute?
No, I was eating chicken and chips for £1.
I was cute. I was dark. I was just had like any back braids. Like I was just not cute at all. Secondary school for me wasn't a bad experience. Like I sang a lot.
Wait, was your school mixed though?
Yeah, my school was mixed. My school was mixed. So boys and girls, whatever. I don't know, like it wasn't a bad experience, but I definitely think like secondary school was a little bit traumatic in terms of going through falling out. 1 minute you're friends with people, next minute you're not friends with people. And that happened as well, like bullying and people chatting you when you go to school and everyone's whispering and talking. Like secondary school was a place like now, I would love to have a secondary school reunion. So I could just be like, lucky bitches. Because obviously now my adulthood,
you've come into your being.
Yeah, like, and secondary school, you're just figuring out who you are. And it's funny that because when I was sending my children to secondary school, like my two eldest boys, I sent them to two different secondary schools. So my eldest one went to a boys' school and my second born went to a mixed school. The secondary schools are different and they're just two different characters. So that's, what I felt. But to bring it back to the whole young girls thing, I just feel like my mum had me, she was quite older. So there was a lot of stuff going on she didn't really know. Like things are happening. I think a lot of the parents as well, like you lot are not switched on. Like you lot are not switched on. You lot are not really in your child's business and you lot are not really seeing what's happening. Because your child attends church every day, your child isn't really taught, you think your child's not in this thing. As someone who worked in education for a long time and someone who still does and taught, the things that we have seen on some of your children's phones, wild. Absolutely diabolical. Yeah. So I just feel like, the secondary school experience is something that's different for everyone, but you figure out, I don't even know if you figure out who you are, but a lot of things happen to you.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird space.
I agree. I have to agree with you on that.
It's a hierarchy.
Let's the American films, right? And if you guys watch the American
Mean
ones,
Girls.
Mean Girls.
There's literal girls that are like, there's some bitches, man.
It's literally like that. Especially coming from a girls' school, there were groups and cliques, yeah? Everyone had their group and cliques.
Every school, because
every school has it, yeah? You'd have the girls who are a bit neaky, like whatever, but they were still a bit cool.
The goths.
You'd have the goths, the girls that whatever. Then you'd have the so on and so forth.
The cool
then
guys.
You'd have the cool kids out there. Everyone knows what man she's linking who and Those, and I don't mind talking about my personal experiences, but those girls have a massive influence on the rest of the cliques. Yeah, so we're looking at it from a Mean Girls perspective. Look how big what's her name was. Yeah, what's her name? what's the girl? Regina George.
Oh.
Yeah, the baddie, yeah. But anyway, the girls who are the mean girls, or the girls who are seen to be cool, or they have like their parents get them like all the nice stuff, they slick their hair, or whatever is that in thing. They probably have a bust down now. I'm thinking about the generation now. Bust
Lace
down
front.
weave, lace front, or whatever.
Knotless to their batty.
Yeah, like, and they get those things. All the other groups of maybe girls are looking to that group because they are seen to be the most popular, or the most this, or the most that, or whatever it may be. And it can be very, very detrimental, I think, for a young girl just trying to navigate teenagehood, trying to figure out who she is, because you're now being influenced so much by someone who you deem to be, oh yeah, they're actually really cool, like they're actually in it, like, yeah, I want to be like her, sort of thing, blah blah blah. And I feel like for me, I wasn't a floater, because I did hang around year 7 to 9. I did hang around with the popular girls. Like, I was part of that group, but I was a little bit on the outskirts. So I would still talk to the other girls. When I got to like year 9, then the slicking of hairstyle, all of that stuff happened. Then there was a girl who was part of the popular group, and me and her were very close. Like, I would go everywhere with this girl. We were very, very close, whatever. We broke up, and it was because of man. We stopped talking. I have not spoken to this girl since year 9 because of man, because of a guy that did not even attend our school. And it was all because her boyfriend at the time allegedly said something to my boyfriend at the time. What do I know about boyfriend? Yeah. Allegedly said something to my boyfriend. And then I've gone and said, oh, you know, your man said this to my man. She's gone back to her man. The boys are now beefing. We're beefing. And then we don't talk. So through year 10 to 11, it was split. So people would talk to me, but then if they spoke to me, she would cut them off, and then she wouldn't talk to them. And then if she spoke to certain people, they wouldn't talk to me because they've chosen a side.
I ain't got time for that rubbish.
Can you see how nonsense it is? But as a girl, for me, I'm there writing in my diary. I'm doing everything, using my 5-day pass, talking to the girls who were talking, like, what have I done? Literally, like, seriously, blah, 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 blah. Like, trying to literally rack my brains to understand that whole dynamic. And it was all because of the relational issues between a girl and a guy, and me saying something to her boyfriend and having them.
We're still going on now as adults.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you learn in it.
But grown women are still doing that. Are we learning?
What, saying things to men and then going? I personally
grown
wouldn't.
women are beefing about men now.
No, absolutely, but I personally wouldn't. I would never do it.
I personally wouldn't. But equally, it's like that's still happening. Do you know what I mean? I think you learn some stuff in the playground.
100%.
Like you learn some stuff in the playground. Those who were switched on and who took in their surroundings came out, because a lot of the mean girls and a lot of the popular girls, they ain't shit now. A lot of them ain't doing nothing. A lot of them are not doing anything. Like the girls who are sneaky, who were not deemed as pretty back in the day, oh, they're flying, high flying. Some of them. Obviously, everyone's journey and situation is different.
Yeah.
But sometimes you see people at school that you thought, I thought she could be nice. Now, her circumstance is not what you thought it was going to be. Some people follow their path and they get out, you know, what they were like at school. I think, I don't have a teenage daughter. I have a daughter, but she's not a teenager yet, like Leash. But the conversation, obviously I have sons first who have teenage age, but the conversation I have with my daughter is similar to what I have with my son. I think one of the things, I couldn't speak to my mum about sex when I was younger. My mum was Caribbean, she's old school. And, you know, just one of our last conversations that we had, you know, I had 3 older sisters. And considering I had 3 older sisters, nobody spoke to me about nothing.
Really? Not even like...
Nothing. No one sat down and spoke to me about anything. So for me, it was just a waste having older siblings. I didn't get that conversation. I feel like one of the things I feel like that this generation struggle with is their very instant gratification. Mental health for this generation, for me, I feel like is a lot more bigger. I feel like we have mental health in our generation, but for some reason we're functioning weirdly, but it's not like it doesn't exist. This generation, everything's focused on looks and how you can be, the whole, you know, aesthetics thing and BBLs and Botox and all of that, lip fillers and all of that, it's all in now. So you're a child. The fact that you're wearing a lace front to school is wild. Whereas big women are still, we all got our natural hair. Like, a lace front's long, you don't know how to apply a lace front, you're having knotless down to your bum already. So the pressure's on us as a mother now. I can only imagine the pressure we're going to be on when our daughters are of that age, because we're already here and the knotless is down there, lace front is down there. Like, what else can we do at this point? Like, what am I going to change it every week? Like, what else? How much can I do? The makeup, the contour is there. I'm seeing some young girls on TikTok. You've got facial products. You're 13. Like, I don't understand. I don't know if the parents think it's good for them. It backfires because they become entitled. For me personally, I definitely want to talk about, loving on yourself and being comfortable with, who you are. And not looking at other people. I guess that's difficult because our children are growing up on social media. That's just where it is, unfortunately. And that's a hard battle. Because even for some, even for me as a grown woman, everyone has a little moment where you're like, oh, I wonder if, why is that? You have a moment sometimes. So if we're feeling it as grown women with children, I can only imagine a child thinking, oh, I need to have that. And you know what I mean? And now I feel like it's been glorified now, sex and big bum. And when I watch some of the Snap stories and some of the stuff like that, it's just very sexualized. Like it's a lot. And they do that now and it's normal. It's just,
it's
the
in your
battle
face.
is mad.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in them to be doing all this. Like, it's just a lot that we have to kind of.
I think what's techie, I think because the way in which we've been parented and we've grown up and we may parent, or if we choose not to from listening to this ep, because there's clear distinguishments whereby we've already been told by society, okay, yeah, it's all right if men sleep around, it's all right if men step out, it's all right if men father multiple children outside, it's okay, he's a man, he can kind of get away with it. Whereas for a woman, when you are promiscuous, like even just the terms that people use, like you're promiscuous or you have multiple partners or you do certain things, they're labeled and seen in a certain way. I can revert it back to school. As soon as we found out like a girl had maybe been with more than one guy or something, everyone in school was calling her a slag. Why is she a slag? Why are we calling her a slag when some of us are in the closet doing what we're doing but nobody knows? So I think that I think right now for girls,
And it's women calling women that as well. It's not
100%. We've got two strands to this now for young girls. I think we have the strand whereby we've got femininity, whereby some parts of society saying it's like we're embracing your womanhood. Like we want you to do well in the workplace. We want you to have be able to be free, sexually liberated. We want all of those things for you. You can be like a man. You can even be better than a man. And then we've got the other strand where it's like, okay, cool. As a young girl or a female, you should respect your body. You shouldn't let people have sex with you. You're degrading yourself if you wear that on the street. Like you are limiting your self-worth or whatever. We've got that other strand whereby society is still kind of held onto like what they deem a woman and femininity should look like. And I think right now what we're battling with is we have got a very clear distinction, because you've got women who are online who are more than happy to showcase what they have, their body, and be open with their sexuality and do those things. And then you've got another strand of women like, yeah, it's not for me. And then just reserving that. I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to parent girls, females in this generation where we've got two, like, I see it's very clear, distinct views on how women should be. You've got, like, we see all the time, women, we can be whatever, you can work, you can cook, you can still clean, you can be the mum, you can be yourself, you can do all of those things, you're amazing, you can sleep with whoever you want to, no one should care about, all of these things. We have that. Like,
sleep with whoever you want to, but find a husband.
Yeah, like, you've literally got, you
can
all
go
of these
out
views.
And have free time, but still be a woman of God. Like,
there's a lot of, it's a lot. There's a clear, so
what do you think?
I don't know.
Much fierce,
No, because I didn't get asked about secondary school. And I'm going to tell you about secondary school and why it links into what I'm going to talk about next.
Yeah.
So my experience in secondary school was great. I love secondary school. It was probably one of the best times of my life. I had fun, never wanted to be sick. I went to a mixed school. I was part of the popular group. It's life, isn't it? Like, there are fitness hierarchies in society. Yeah. So for me, like, my experience was fine. In that regard, but I do remember, and this happened, I don't know if it's only my year, but I can only recall what happened in my year. But when you get to a certain age, I think it was about year 8, the boys used to rush us, and when they rushed us, they had a quick fill. Yeah.
Feel ups, yeah.
This came up in the news a couple of years ago when people were bringing up with the Me Too movement. Young girls, women now were then coming up with things that they experienced in secondary school and say they weren't safeguarded in secondary school appropriately because they were getting feel up. That's what they're getting in it. So people were doing that and experienced it, and we normalized it because that's what we experienced as a collective, innit? Like all the girls were kind of getting it. And it leads on to the point of what you said in regards to instant gratification, and as to the reason why I don't really feel like sleeping around is the best thing. I do understand that you have to find yourself and navigate yourself in this whole society, but on that whole feminine flex of like you can be like a man, you're not a man, so it's totally different. You receive a man, yeah. Remember what you have in your organs and how that all works and how that runs. The attachments that we make as women are not the same attachments as men. As women, we try and act like it is the same, but it's not. They can detach. Yeah, we find it very, very difficult to detach. Not to say that we can't do it, but it's a whole different makeup into our emotional attachments and how a man emotionally attached. They're two different things. To not acknowledge that is the problem. Also in that, when sleeping around, you are also, like I said, because you're also receiving people's energies.
100%.
You're receiving people's it is part of their souls at the same time, and you're not deep in that. And you will only clock that when you get older. You will not clock that when you're young because you're looking for instant gratification. If you speak to a lot of women, they like the intimacy, they like that connection, they like the sex. Yeah, who doesn't?
Not
Like
even
you said.
the sex.
No, but it's the intimacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the whole intimacy of it all. When that intimacy goes, there's now a feeling of emptiness because you don't have that person. You have that person for that time, but not for that period. And that's why I don't believe in sleeping around that's why I think it's important. I'm the same as you. I never had that conversation. I think if a lot of young ladies had that conversation, if the mums plucked up the courage, if older cousins who were around plucked up the courage to have that conversation, when you're exploring around them ages, I don't know what people do nowadays, but 14, 15, 16, I'm going to bring it back to work. So it's about 14 on average, people are now kind of doing it. And obviously as years go by, things change in society, hence why sex education has been brought back a year now, isn't it? Because of the exposure and what we're seeing in social media and so forth. I almost feel like liberation of women, I feel like it's quite stemmed from a man, because it's easy for a man to come up with sexual liberation, guys. If you want to have sex with 10 different people and do all these different stuff, do what you want to do, like, and blah, blah, blah. But are they going to wife you for that? Yeah. The answer would be no. But then at the same time, they're telling you to go and do whatever because then they gain something from it. But you lose from that because you've got an attachment. Now you've attached yourself to all these different people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're wondering why you lost, or why can't you find the perfect relationship, or why relationships not working, because you've got these attachments. People call them soul ties as well, because you can actually be in those situations when you've got a casual link, but you're linking this guy or you're linking this girl 3-4 years and you can't figure out what's going on or why you can't move from this person or why you can't find yourself a next person. It's because you've tied yourself to this person.
And that's learned.
And that's what I mean. But it's learned, and we learn that. But then if you're not giving these gems to our young girls in the first place, they're not going to know. And actually, they don't have to experience that trauma because it is traumatic. You can be linking someone and actually be in love with someone, and that guy is just seeing you as a beat. That's it. Yeah, that is it. And as a girl, you're not going to be able to really understand that, especially when you're young. Yeah, boys, not all boys, and I'm not going to categorize and say all boys just go out to slinging their stuff.
The majority.
Yeah, no, but the point, but my point is, they're most likely not to view it the same way that a female is. So the level of intimacy, the connection, the things that we naturally do, because it's natural for us to do it, a boy is not doing exactly the same. And that's why I think those conversations need to happen. That's why I do think it does matter, those types of things like sleeping around. Yeah. Men, I'm not saying like it doesn't matter, because they still get attachments coming to them because they're sleeping with different people. It's still a connection, even if they're not trying to connect and download. The downloading is still happening. When you have sex, there's this diagram of of basically man and woman together, and they're almost in a Kama Sutra type of
Yeah, I've
position.
seen it, and the
And
things
it's
are
an
going
eight.
like this.
It's an eight.
Yeah.
It's eternal. It's 8, and it travels through each
Yeah.
other. Guys, we're not even clocking that all this stuff is happening until of a later age. But remember, you've got this baggage, and this baggage is coming around with you. So when people say, does it really matter if you have a high body count or not? It does actually matter. Yeah. The difference is it would have been better if you knew before you caught that high body count that actually respecting your body and seeing your body fully part of you in that action of having sex, just not thinking about it as instant gratification or because you're looking for that connection, because there's more longevity in the other side of things.
Do you know what? Yeah, before we start this, obviously me and Nish got into it, and I asked her a question and she didn't respond. Obviously now she's responded, so I get contextually what she was saying. So obviously to come back on what Nish is saying about the whole that, yeah, you learn that in adulthood. The problem is with that is that, number one, not all of the mums, adults and cousins are equipped to give us advice about these things because you lot's situation is nedged anyway, first and foremost. And they still haven't done the healing process and addressed their own issues, yeah? So...
Hold on, but not to assume that all of them have issues.
No,
Because
no,
some people,
no, let's not assume it all have issues.
Some mums can only have been with one other person or two other
Yeah,
people,
and
then
still have an issue.
They don't have the
So-
issue. It's not, they don't
So I'm
have
not to
issues.
say that, not to say, okay, let's give it from 2 angles, yeah? So you have one mum, maybe you've got siblings, 5 of you all grew up in the same household, but you've got different dads. You have someone else, your parents have been married 30, 35 years. When your dad met your mum and the age, it's all techie. Your mum was about 15 and your dad was about 19. Do the math.
Yeah.
Your mum was a child.
But again, yeah.
Your mum was a
No,
child.
I hear what you're saying.
Your mum was a child. It gets very awkward. Your mum was a child. They might have been together for 35 years, 40, and you might have 7 siblings. But your mum was a child when your dad was speaking to her. So when a lot of people don't do the math, and when they do, it's really weird. Mum was about 14, like you were 17. Why was you not even talking or discussing? It's all good now. They've been married 30, 40 years. Great, fantastic. But was there an element of grooming? Was there an element of abuse? Because she was a baby. You were a grown man. That's not everyone's situation. Let's give an example. But equally, just to piggyback, look at me, off of what Leisha was saying, that, we are transferring of energy. I think a lot of mums and a lot of people, we're not talking about self-love. We're not talking about loving of your, of your body and your own personal stuff. They're just not being taught that. And obviously you can't be taught from someone who doesn't know what that is. A lot of our parents don't love themselves. That's just what it is. Not because they love you and they exuberate love into you and to their grandchildren. They don't love themselves. They haven't addressed those things. They've just survived. My mum would have said, bata bata. They're just battering on. They're just doing their thing. They don't actually love themselves. A lot of them went through abuse. A lot of them were in situations. A lot of them stayed in marriage in situations for you. For you guys. That relationship was trash. And that's not everybody.
I don't know if it's a lot though. You're saying a lot of. I just think sometimes it's not a case of just a lot of people have been abused and they've experienced trauma. I think it can come down to something very, very simple. As they've never experienced someone telling them beforehand.
But
that kind of coming back to that.
So they don't know how to. So you don't know how to teach someone.
I disagree.
Guys.
I think all of our parents knew that their parents have told them about not having sex before marriage, because we all come from a religious background. So it was whether they wanted to listen to that advice or not.
No, but I'm just saying the in-depth part
whole
of it,
in-depth
though.
part, yeah,
so
absolutely.
that part, yeah.
But remember, we're looking at a generation. Now we're going to have those in-depth conversations because we are more educated, we know more things. But if we're moving it back, grandparents, they would just taught what they were taught, which was, this is the education, this religion.
Did all of us have our kids in marriage? Did all of us have our kids? Not all of us had our kids in marriage, yeah? So,
technically.
Go.
But equally, like, I'm sure if we could all redo our situations in terms of how we had our children, I know for me personally, I wouldn't do it the way I did it. Would I have preferred to have done it old school? Yes. I would have preferred to have done it that way. got married and done the thing. And I'm not saying that's always the perfect way, but it would have been my preferential choice. I'm saying, like having a baby in wedlock, and I'm not saying that's the perfect choice, but I'm just saying, going through what I've lived, my experience, that'll be my preferred choice. That's what I'm going to be pushing to my daughter. I don't want to hear about no baby, no 18, 19, 21. I don't want to hear 25 under. I don't want to hear about no baby.
But this is what I'm saying. We need to be talking about the bit before that. So now we're in
The
hindsight.
love part, but that's loving yourself.
Exactly. And this is the message that we should be talking about, because it's the hindsight, isn't it? We can all acknowledge, if I knew before, guys, I would have made a different choice. I would have got married beforehand. And I think that's an ideal situation for most people. Yeah, not all, but most people. So let's just draw it back and talk about why then? What's the experiences that we feel like didn't need to be experienced, and what would have been different? So if you could talk to yourself 15, 16, 17, however old you are, but back to your teenage self, what would you tell yourself as like an important message to understand how you use your sexuality, how you use your body to show that you love and you care, how to understand what you have is sacred. Remember, it's sacred. We create babies, so it is a very sacred thing. Let's not even push that to the side. How are we educating? Where do we start with that conversation in order to enable that thought process to happen a lot sooner rather than later, rather than being, oh, you're just chatting rubbish. And yeah, of course, like you said, we were taught, don't have sex before marriage. Boom, that's just a statement.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say this. First and foremost, we did an ep when we spoke about dads. First and foremost, dads, I need you to understand how important it is that you treat the mother of your child. With her, divorce, not with her. I need you to understand the importance of how your girl child sees you dealing with the person you chose to have a child with. That is important. How that reflection, what she sees, how she sees you dealing with her, anybody, and for mums ourselves, I'm very conscious, even for my boy child, I'm very conscious about how they see men dealing with me. With my boy children, I'm conscious that however they see a man dealing with me is how they're potentially going to mirror and deal with a woman.
So how do you model a healthy relationship in front of your children's
eyes? And
I
think, it's small things again that we spoke about. Asking the right questions of people before you're even in a situation we need to model that behavior, and understanding, okay, how do we handle conflict? How do we handle, certain little conversations and stuff like that? At the end of the day, as well, off of the back of that, as Leisha was speaking, I was thinking about what ways could have helped. Now, please get into your schools, PTA, anything. Speak to the other parents. Get into the schools. And obviously, I would have preferred, like in my son's school, we went to all-boys school, my eldest son, and there was no PTA. There was a lot of things going on. They're sending videos around WhatsApps. And as a parent, there was a lot of older parents now who don't know a thing about iPhone, don't know nothing. You needed a younger parent like myself to go, this is how you get in there. This is how they talk. This is what's going on. Snapchat's got this. This is how they're hiding things. You weren't allowing that. For me, it almost felt like you were trying to trap them in a space. Like you wanted us to gatekeep certain little things. I would say we have social media now and we have platforms where young people are watching. So I'm always mindful about the message that I'm putting out. For me personally, I know that I would love to get into schools with young girls and speak to them directly and with the parents. And I get that. Like Leisha was asking what would have been different. My mum was tired. She was a single parent by herself. She was working a lot. Her focus she didn't notice things. And even if she did, she didn't have the time. And I can understand why things happen because you're grinding. And you see something a bit off, but you're not too sure. You have to work 2-3 jobs. You've got no choice. So you're not really there. You have to kind of leave your child, or you're not really able to go, what's wrong? Or you don't have the capacity or the tolerance to sit down and go, I saw you was upset after school today. We know now, and especially with you ladies' position where you are in your career, you understand the importance of creating a space and going, right, let me create a space. What's wrong? What's happened? Why are you crying? Why are you emotional? You understand that importance. Our parents didn't know nothing about that. We're all working, we're all doing things. We don't have the capacity. So we want to be able to provide that space. And I don't know how we're going to do it. That would be one of the things I would have said to my mum. Just
But even one mums that don't have 2 or 3 jobs and are in a harmonious relationship, I still think they struggle with it. And this is the reason why we're talking about it, is because I think it's a challenging conversation for some people to just genuinely
It's uncomfortable.
yeah,
Just,
yeah, because it's
Because
almost
you're
like,
talking about sex. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna be. My mum is. I wouldn't say she's a prude, but my mum is a prude.
Old school.
Yeah, she's not. She's not gonna like. We have banter now. Like, I can banter with my mum. My mum's seen a couple cheeky pictures that she should have not slipped up on, and she nearly had a heart attack. Yeah. However,
I love that.
yeah. The point being is, a lot of my grandma used to say, I don't need to sit here and talk to you about sex because you are going to know what to do. Like, I don't need to tell you what to do. You're going to find out. What I do need to tell you about is how men treat women. Make sure you have your backup cash. Make sure you have your money when you're upset.
Your
Make
vex
sure,
money.
There we go. Make sure you do things for yourself and you're independent so you don't have to rely on a man. That's what my grandma would say when she was having her little rants or conversations. I don't need to, everyone, there's sex. She used to say this thing, there's sex is everywhere. We don't need to teach them about having sex because you will learn that with the people you are having sex with. But what you need to do is to understand who you are having sex with, why you're having sex, and the reasons if you even want to have sex. Like, it's
peer
okay
pressure.
to say no.
Do you
Remember,
even
we
wanna
spoke
do it?
about this.
We've
We spoke
spoken
about
about it. Yeah,
peer
no,
pressure in
absolutely.
school. And I think
Absolutely.
our experiences were exactly the same.
Like,
so once one done one, the other one was like,
boom, 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 boom.
so when
So
you
who's
doing
next?
it?
Yeah.
When are you gonna go
I
and do
think
it?
in
And then
school,
it was
everyone planned it.
literally like a planned thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a checklist. I remember the boys came back. The boys came back from summer because, again, like I said, my school was like popular boys, popular girls. Like how you said it, like literally
Yeah,
that type
literally.
of demographic in the school. So when the boys came back from summer, they all done it, and they were like, "Yeah, we done it. We've done this," and and all the girls are like, "What? We need to catch up."
Yeah.
It's just,
we need to be
that's
in the
even
same
just
space
weird.
and
Like,
place.
even that conversation.
No, but the point is,
It's
you
your
have
social.
but you have to be clued up with this and acknowledge this, because this is what is, by the time our kids get into that stage who are girls, it's going to be amplified. I've worked on, I know I'm not supposed to be talking about work, but I remember a young person exploring having sex with another 15-year-old, so underage but not extremely underage. No one's gonna get arrested, because it's what we class as peer on peer, right? But the type of sex that they were having
was just too much.
was wild.
Graphic.
And this is why I'm saying, like, it's important to have those conversations, because nowadays kids are doing everything and anything. Pornography is widely accessible to everyone. We normalize so much different sexual acts, like it's a pick and mix.
That's not normal.
Choose whatever you want
That's
to do.
for entertainment.
No, but they see it as a norm. So when they even entertain the level of sex that we may have been exposed to at a younger age to what it is now in comparison are two different things. These are basically doing porno sex. And it's scary and it's crazy, but it's real. And that's why those conversations are really good to have about, like, what is kind of normal for your age group. Yeah, these things, people do it, but you tend to do those things with more experience, and you have to be really comfortable with the person that you're doing it with. Now, when I say like extreme things, I mean like people will be doing anal sex, and these are teenagers, and they're young. What do they know about all of these things? Fisting, those types of stuff. They will be doing choking on each other. These things are not normal. No, but at that age, it's not normal for you to be doing it. But the fact of the matter is, because of social media and how things are portrayed, they talk about it all the time, innit? You see comedy shows, you see different podcasts, and they talk about it and they laugh and they joke about it. Girls will talk about being battered and be like, yeah, I slept with 10 guys in one day. Yeah, I liked it. Da, 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 da. And then what they're kind of seeing that as a norm at such kind of a young age. And then if you're not having these conversations to say things like, pornography, even if you viewed it, that's not real. They take different takes. It takes them hours to do that. If you're not putting a realistic stamp on it, in their head, they think it's kind of like a real thing. This is what you do. You have sex with someone and it's aggressive, for example. And this is how you get like sexual delinquents out and sexual deviants, and they do all types of different crazy stuff, and it kind of goes against the grain. So do you know, like, I've seen things where men say like women can't say no to sex and all this type of thing, or whether they'll take it seriously or not. Not all, but I've seen little bits and bobs. Well, yeah. And I think sometimes even girls, when you're that young, feeling whether they can say yes or no. Is it okay for them to say yes or no? What if they say no? What's going to happen in the playground when they go back to school? Recordings are rife. Shells, you can agree with me on this. You will see loads of referrals, guys, and we see it a lot of times. So like you said, you will see stuff on phones. We will get the other part of it, where there's loads of referrals of girls sending pictures of themselves, explicit pictures,
So
boys
parents,
doing
let
the
teachers
same.
go in your children's phone.
Yeah.
Because you might not be able to get in there, but they will give that teacher, they will unlock that phone for that teacher. Because I've seen, I don't want to put, yes, we're going in your child's phone. Because something's being sent around by someone else's child and you obviously didn't see it. They've had the group chat for 6 months. You didn't know the group chat was going on. And also, how you don't know it's going on.
But sometimes it can happen on the parent's phone as well, though.
Yeah.
You know, like when they use the kids will
To
use
log
a phone,
in, yeah.
and then the parent, because they're not checking, they're not even seeing that all these obscenities, even with really young children, like primary school children, especially that
primary school children.
5 to year 6.
100%.
Yeah,
10 years old, from 8 to 10.
They miss that part, innit? But
Yeah,
they
because
be
they think,
on...
no, it's innocent, and your child's quiet. And especially, we've all, do you know what I mean? You have different children. All of my children are different. Their characters are different. You understand? At the end of the day, like Nisha said, we're fortunate that we're in positions where we're exposed to certain things that some people may not be exposed to. But we're not perfect parents.
No, far from.
We're still making hiccups. And we're still trying to figure out, we know that, but how do we really navigate that? Because there might be, we might get into a situation that compromises our jobs, or that's a bit of a techie or a sticky one for us. What are we going to do? We're still parents first before our careers and our job. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any perfect way that we can kind of navigate around talking to your child. I think, number one, take a chance to know your child and as much as possible to figure out how that conversation is going to be, whether it's a book.
Nurture it, I would say, from an earlier stage.
Yeah. And I agree with Charles.
Call penises,
vaginas and
vaginas.
penises. Yeah. Even I'm big on that. Like, I'm some people are not. I'm really big on that. I grew up calling it
What? Hello.
Morning.
Yeah.
Crutches.
Okay.
Pum pum. Yeah, underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we all got what the drift was, but obviously the blatant
Mini.
terms. Yeah, mini. Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. We have a different name, and mine was in Patois, so it's a little bit different.
What is
so,
it?
I don't even think it's in Patois. I just think St. Lucians and Dominic can say it.
What is it?
Cockox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a normal thing for us, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what you call it. So, but I've never changed the name, yeah. I mean, like I said, and I've done my son already. I've done my son for a long time. I had that conversation.
Yeah.
So we named it and shamed it, and obviously talk about the
Named
real...
it and shamed
No, but
it.
we talk about the real words. I just find it aggressive. I've always said this.
It is aggressive.
Penis and vagina, so aggressive. But they're always...
Is an elbow aggressive?
No, darling. I know, but it's part of your body. Yeah. The point is, if you tell your child and your child knows the real version, even if you rename it, it's fine because at least they know what the actual name of it is, isn't it? But yeah, because you have like a family name of different stuff, isn't it?
Of course.
So long as you can name it.
Your front.
Clean your front and your back.
Gotta be in your front.
Do you know what? I just think it is going to be really difficult for parents. I'm not going to lie. Because I
even
think
dads had that conversation with their daughters. Oh, God. I had this conversation and they were like,
that's a hard one, man.
Yeah.
Got some good females around you.
What would you say?
I
do think there are conversations that women need to have with
girls.
Females.
Get some good
and there
women.
Are conversations that men need to have. And I do think from a daddy-daughter perspective, the conversation could potentially just look like as what a good man looks like.
And that's it.
It doesn't need to go into, he doesn't need to talk about the whole ins and outs of it. But I think he just needs to demonstrate what a good man is. And he needs to explain, this is what you would expect from a man.
Get some good women around you.
And she can have that conversation with her mum because
but what if she's not around?
If her mum's
that's
not
what
around,
I say. Get some good women around you.
Good aunties, grandmother.
But what if they don't?
If they don't have that conversation, then the dad is going to have to do it. But that's a very rare.
It is a rare occasion.
Yeah? He will have to be humble, and he'll have to bite the crack and the bullet, and he'll have to have that conversation.
Google it.
Literally, because there is like how you say it in a child-friendly, focused way.
There's Pants NSPCC for young children, which you can use. Everyone can access it. It's under the resources. It's Pants.
Yeah. So literally, just having that conversation. But I definitely think that women, we need to speak more to our young girls.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they need to be schooled by what's being shared on certain platforms or through certain whatever. I don't know. Everyone's got an opinion, but the long and short of it is what I would advise is just respect your body. And when I say respect your body, think about what you're putting in there, what you eat, like
Mhm.
how you dress, like how do you want to be perceived? Because regardless of what people say to you, you can wear whatever you want to wear. Babe, you cannot wear what you want to wear.
Mhm.
If you wear certain things, you are going to get harassed, period. Yeah. So you just need to be self-aware. You need to protect yourself. Yeah. You only have one body, you only are one of yourselves. So think about what you're wearing. Think about how you dress. Think about how you speak. Think about everything you're doing. You have to second guess because you don't know what is in someone else's mind. You cannot speak for somebody else. You can only speak for yourself.
Mhm.
And if you want to say, okay, well, I'm liberated, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, just be prepared for repercussions because
Fact.
for every single action, there is a reaction. So we can say to people, you know what, go out there, dress how you want to dress, expect man not to do this, expect man not to do that. And I'm not condoning any male's behaviors because no one should put their hands on you because they feel like they can. But if you are doing a certain thing, or you're looking a certain way, and we know that men behave in certain ways, or some men behave in a certain way, are you then creating a situation for yourself or a reaction? So I'm just saying, think about those things. We can argue and sit here and say men shouldn't do this. No, we need to discipline our men. Yes, we do. Men know they shouldn't do
But we
certain
need to
things.
discipline ourselves at the
But
same
we
time.
also
Yeah,
need to
and
discipline
educate
ourselves and
ourselves.
Yeah.
educate ourselves and be like, actually, you know what? Yeah, I know if I turn right, that goes to the cliff and I'm going to drop in the cliff. I ain't going to turn right. I'm turning left because I know actually there's a pair of stairs there that I can walk
Go
up.
down,
It's
yeah.
all about the choices that we make and the decisions that we make that have an impact on whatever we choose to do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, mums, talk to your daughters, have that conversation, speak about what their bodies are and what they are. They're magnificent. They're vessels, and understanding that they're vessels and who should be privileged enough to experience that vessel. Yeah, I think that's how I would kind of put it in regards to who they decide to sleep with or how their attitudes are towards sex. Talk to them about what they're seeing and what their views are. Have a conversation about it. Have an open conversation about it. Does it entice them? Would they like to try it? It may be awkward for you and it even may be awkward for them, but afterwards, at least you've had that conversation and you've been able to explore what it means to them, because influences are not just from the home, influences are also from the people that they're around as well at the same time. So understand those peer pressures, and then I think you'll be able to guide in a type of way. The opening conversation will open many doors. I would also advise mums, if you find out that your daughter is sexually active, make it a thing that you go to the clinic with her. Don't make her afraid of going to the clinic.
Yep.
She don't need to go alone. She don't need to go with her brethren. She can go with you, yeah? And you can make it a thing. You go get a test alongside her so she knows that there's nothing to worry about. Understanding what that actually means, and how she's then taking care of her own sexual health, and that should also encourage her, if she's sleeping with someone else, have you been checked? Have you had your STD results back? Can I see it? And having those conversations and letting them know it's not the end of the world, even if they do catch something as well at the same time. I think sometimes there's an apprehension about doing STD checks because they don't want to find out if something's wrong with them. STD checks are on a rise ever since COVID and whatever. And like I said, a lot of people are having sex and they're not thinking about what they're doing. But I think those conversations are really, really important. I think parents are so scared of that part, especially that the sexual health screening part. Normalize it, because then it needs to be part of their sexual health. And like Shell said, if you're looking after your body, you also got to look after that as well at the same time. Understand
The vagina.
the vagina.
Yeah.
Understanding little things like, what does BV look like? What does thrush look like? Having those normal conversations, even down to periods. How long have you had your period for? Understanding that and how they should understand their cycle. Make them understand their cycle from young, because then they'd be more accepting of their periods and what it means to them, and what do they prefer? Do they like Tam? Have those conversations. What I'm saying is, I never had those conversations when I was younger. I think I would have benefited from some of those conversations happening younger. Yeah, I can plod along and find myself on my own feet and understand for myself. But actually having a little touch in hand and go, yeah, don't do that. Like what my aunt said one time was, don't ever pop your spots on your chin, because if you do, you'll end up with loads of marks or whatever. Do you know, like little old wives' tales and stuff? Those things can't harm you. And I think having those conversations will make a massive difference, and it would also lead into how they kind of have sexual relationships themselves. So that's the advice that I would give parents to have with their daughters. And daughters, if you're wanting to have a conversation with your mum about it, I would say, just ask your mum, can we have a little conversation, and maybe break it in so it's all kind of nice and a little bit jokey if your family is that way inclined, or just say, I just need to have a conversation with you. Most mums will have that conversation. They won't reject it and say no, they're not going to do it, because we all know that we're going to have to pull up our knickers and just be like, cool, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
What if, sorry, Ash, what if they're that parent that they have said to you, you're not supposed to be sexually active? Because we do know in a lot of the Black community, you are not supposed to be sexually active. I do not expect my child to be having sex. And then you find out they're having sex. I don't think that type of parent is going to be walking their child to the clinic.
Yeah,
That's
we can't talk. We're
true.
not
So
talking
I'm
to
just-
those parents.
No,
You're not talking to those parents.
No.
I'm just being
No,
real.
no, no,
So what would you say
but
in that
I think you're real.
scenario?
Do you know what? For those girls who don't experience that, I think if they belong to any type of community, whether that's college, whether that's to a church or whatever, you're going to be able to home out someone that you're able to even go clinic with more time than none. If you can't, most times girls tend to go together. I think, and that's experience with boys as well. When the boys first go clinic, they go with their boys, girls kind of go with their girls. So that's kind of like a normal thing. If you can't find someone, but you're, like I said, belong to a community like a school or a college or something, if you tell your pastoral care, most times they will take you to those places. They will find a way to make sure that you're able to get there. So there are different avenues that you can do. You'll be surprised. Schools are very, very good with stuff like that. Yeah, but from my experience, I found that schools are very, very good with that, and they will help you out.
I don't know about that. I don't know if they've taken. Well, yeah, maybe.
Can you imagine if she says, I'm itching, I'm really burning?
No, they won't take you because it's a bit of a safeguarding concern. But they'll have referrals, and they'll refer you to like nurses team or the wellbeing. But they won't necessarily be able to take the child.
I disagree. I think different schools do different things. So yeah, there are experiences where schools will say no, but then there's other schools that actually go above and beyond. I think it kind of just depends on what establishment you're coming from, and even if it's a college or whatnot, and if you've got someone that's able to kind of do it and take you with them, because then it's different ages as well, isn't it? If you're really young, they're going to obviously have to go and speak to your parent because you're itching and you're scratching, so it's something totally different if you're a young age. If you're like 16 and 17 and stuff, that's a whole different age group because it's about consent.
Yeah, I guess for me, what I would advise is, I think, to mothers, I would say that don't let the fear of failure be, hold on to you too much. You're not going to get everything right. You're not going to get everything correct. There's no wrong or correct way to inform, to educate, to give your child knowledge. We're not always going to do the best thing. What I would say is, like Lee said, all you can do is your best to try and create a safe space. And a lot of us will find that difficult because we haven't created a safe space for ourselves, within ourselves, to even have a moment with ourselves, to talk to ourselves about what we're going through, let alone now creating a capacity and safe space for our child to be able to come to us with stuff that they're going through when you don't want them to do certain things. Of course, there is Google and there is YouTube. Yeah, Google has everything on it. You can find clinics that are just honing on 16s and unders, where you can go by yourself, where there are trained professionals who are trained to give you the advice. Of course, it starts in home, but you can only do what you have the capacity to do. And I understand it is an uncomfortable conversation. Like we've all said here, all we can do is do our best and create a space where our child can come to us and say anything, and remove our own personal traumas, feelings, what we went through, and just be there for your child as much as possible. But it's okay also not to feel confident and comfortable doing that. That's okay, because you were not taught how to feel comfortable and comfortable doing that. So do the best that you can do as a parent at the end of the day. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. That's okay. We pick up, dust ourselves off, and we go again.
Use your network. That's the other part.
Yeah.
As a parent, use your network, innit?
And use your people. But again, Google. Sometimes just plain Google. Sometimes you even got to tell your friend, just Google and find something removed.
Everything's online.
Yeah.
And literally everything's at our fingertips.
That was not an ad.
Because they ain't paying us unless they want to pay us.
Don't get me started with Google. Anyhow, guys, it's been great. Make sure you subscribe, listen, rate us 5 stars, and we are out. Bye.
Peace.